almost looks like someone NCIS. What's her face?
This amateur radio roundtable is brought.
No,
All right, the show is on tonight, guys. Wow, have we had some problems tonight? Welcome. Today is Tuesday, December the 6th, and we got a great show for you. We're only 27 minutes late in getting started. We had a lot of problems, and guess what? They were all on this end. And in case you missed it, the problem was the Kryptonite Paraphase Thunderbolt greaser slapper was a little bit out of a line on one of the PCs here, so we fixed that tonight. Hey, just a couple things just real quick. I'll go through real quick. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Thanks for sticking around through all the trouble we had. We only tested 8 hours today before the show. We'll do a better job next week. If you're listening on shortwave, you can go to w5kub.com, w5kub.com, and join us on the show tonight. And if you are out there listening on WBCQ out of Monticello, Maine, drop us an email to tom@w5kub.com. That's tom@w5kub.com. Join our Facebook group. If we've got any new people in the room tonight, up at the top in the menu, there's a button that says Facebook and Twitter. Click on that, join our Facebook group. We've got almost 5,000 people in our webcast Facebook group now. We'd love to hit that 5,000 mark real soon. Let's see. Don't forget about our segment called Ask Riley. We haven't been pushing that very much, but as you guys may know, Riley Hollingsworth is retired from the FCC. He was the special counsel for the Enforcement Division in the FCC, and Ask Riley is a member of our group here, our webcast. And if you've got an FCC question and you'd like an answer, send it to Ask Riley at w5kub.com. Ask Riley at w5kub.com. And if you put your phone number in there, Riley will probably call you back on the phone and answer it personally. But we need to get a few more questions so we'll have enough for a segment, and we hope to have Riley on here maybe in the next couple weeks. Just real quick, we're going to probably change shortwave frequency next week. It's winter time. Propagation is probably better, a little lower in frequency. We're going to go back to 5130, and we'll be on 5130 kilohertz on WBCQ. We want to thank Lord Robert up in Monticello for taking care of us up there. Let's see. Robert says no audio on the feed, but I can probably fix that.
We have audio.
Mic test 1 2. Trying to get audio. Okay, Robert, you should have audio to the radio station now. Okay. Hey, this week we had a pleasant kind of surprise. Actually, it was planned. The IOOK. We had a luncheon here in Memphis. Now, if you don't know who the IOOK is, you may have seen them before at Dayton. They wear these blue shirts, and everybody is a vice president. So the IOOK stands for the International Order of the Crazies. Now, they've been trying to get me to join this group for like the last 30 years, and I've held out. I have not been an official member, but I do associate with them some. And they came down this week, a couple of them from Nashville area, came down this week just to have lunch with a couple of us here in Memphis. So let me throw that up here. And here we are at the Firebird in, I guess that's in Bartlett, Tennessee. And going around there, left to right, that's Jan, and then John Hartman. Jan is KA9VQS, and John is N5AAA. They live outside of Nashville. And then next there is Max Gray, N1MAX, and his wife Lee. And then next to Lee there is my wife Kathy. And then you can see me kind of peeking around back there. That's Tom, W5KUB. And then we've got Lou Pauly, N8KXM, and his wife Sandy. So we had a great lunch there. They drove over just to have lunch with us and drove back. So they drove about, 6 hours to have lunch with us. So that was really cool. And we had a good time. All right, so I think I got most of the things out of the way. So let's go back now And let me just check in with Katie. Katie is back with us. See if I can do this now. Katie, how you doing, Katie?
Doing okay here tonight.
Well, good. And so, Katie, what you've been working hard? You've been going to any of the new HRO stores?
Nothing since the last time I told. Well, actually, went to the Milwaukee grand opening back in October, and just working on my plans for 2017, which will include going to visit some more stores this coming year, as well as obviously some Ham Fest. But just been having a little bit of fun on the radio here and there, as in between working. And one of the things last week I did a little presentation on our new tower. And after the tower went up, Dwayne went up and put some antennas up there, including Mr. Emmett's double bazookas. We've got the 80 meter and the 160 meter up there. And last weekend, Dwayne played in the 160 meter contest and couldn't stop gushing about how awesome that antenna worked. And now Emmett's gushing over there. I can see him on Skype.
Yeah.
But no, it really worked well. And I don't remember how many QSOs you had. How did you do?
Not enough.
Oh, not enough, he says. But he was still pretty pleased with its performance. And of course, we had it up at the top up there at about 100 feet. So that was kind of nice. And then also I got on there just a little bit for a couple of special event stations. The Whiskey One Tango was on the air, the special event station from the Mark Twain House. That was kind of neat. And actually I got into there, and KX9X was the operator. And here he has his big pile, and he's trying to tell me what he's doing and how much fun he's having. And I kept cutting him off because I figured I don't want to hold up the pile up, because there's nothing worse than calling into a special event station or a DX and then suddenly someone decides to chat up a storm when people are waiting in line to make a QSO. But it was kind of fun growing up in the Hartford area. I'm certainly familiar with the Mark Twain House, and so it was kind of a whole new way to think about it and have some nice memories of visits there. And let's see. Today, as a lot of people know, our little friend Hope, Leah, was KM4IPF. Did I get that right?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. She and her dad, James.
Her husband.
I know. Her dad, James, are in California for his work, I believe, and they're doing a bunch of different things. But today they were visiting the set of Last Man Standing, and little Hope, who's 10 years old in an extra class, operated from the set of Last Man Standing. And I'll tell you what, that kid worked the pile up like a boss. She was running a pile up like you wouldn't believe. I caught him nice and early. I heard her making a QSO with her mom and her sister, and I dove in there. And she goes, "Oh, hi, Katie."
Well, I heard them. I heard her both on 20 and 40, but she was down a little bit in the Aulacurium, so I didn't try to talk to her. But there she is, right there. And
yeah, there she is. So
she
that
does
was
work
just before they got rolling today.
Yeah, she does work. Now John sent out. He posted on a lot of Facebook groups. He posted that we're on 14.364 now, and I sent him back a note and said, "John, I got an extra class license, but it don't let me work 14 kilohertz out of the band."
I saw someone reply to that on the W5KUB Facebook page, and I said, "Oh, it must have been dyslexia." But poor John, since that went out to so many different pages. But last year we were out in California in September, and also visited the set of Last Man Standing and got to operate from there. And I tell you what, it is an absolute thrill. And I'm so excited from her, and I hope, I'll talk to James when they get back and see if maybe we can get them on the show to talk about that experience. I think that would be a lot of fun to hear about.
That would be great. And she's having the experience of a lifetime out there. Kathy and I were out there 2 years ago, and John took care of us, and we stayed a week out there on set, and it was just amazing, to watch how they put that show together, and they really took care of us. So we didn't want to come home. We felt like family out there.
Yeah, it was really, we had such a super time. And it's definitely, if someone has an opportunity to go see a show being taped live, You shouldn't miss it. It's a lot of fun, and we're big fans of the show, and have been it since it started, regardless of the ham radio component to it. We really enjoy that, and then one other quick bit of news that I didn't get to share last week because we were kind of trying to make sure I got time to talk about our new tower, but I was very pleased that my husband, Dwayne Allen, WI7FD, won his election to sit on the board of directors for the next 3 years. And this will make, well, let's see, he's already been sitting on the board for how many years? 9 years. That's, what do I know?
Wow.
Pretty much like the whole time we've been together, I think.
Wow. Hey, you
So
gotta
they
be.
call him El Presidente.
Yeah, and Dwayne, you
No,
better.
no. That's, he's a few chairs and
You have
he's
another-
tied with 14 others and to be that
Yeah,
part.
other
Well,
words just for him.
Congratulations to Dwayne there.
Congratulations, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I get to continue on being the first lady of the Rocky Mountain Division, as a lot of the folks around here call me. But I'm really pleased for him, and it's a volunteer job that he truly enjoys being able to be a part of, and he's been actually coming home earlier these days. His work schedule's changed, so he's been coming home and practically running right to the shack and playing around on the air some more. So it's a lot of fun, and so he's very active ham, as well as providing his volunteer efforts on the board, helping to guide the governance and policy of the organization. And so it's all about ham radio in this household, and I'm still on the public relations committee for the ARL, and we'll see what the president decides in January at the board meeting, if he decides to keep me around, which I hope he does.
Well, we'll have everybody in the chat room send a note in and vote for you.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Well,
So
great.
yeah, it's been a little bit of fun stuff going on around here, and just thought we'd pop in here at the top of the hour and say hello to everybody.
All right. Well, Katie, really glad to have you back again with us, and man, great news, great information and an announcement that you made tonight. Thank you so much for coming back with us tonight.
Yeah, you bet. Looking forward to Emmett's segment to hear all about the Batfish.
Yeah. All right.
What fish? No, just kidding.
The Batfish. All right. Well, we're going to go over here to.
73, everybody.
All right, 73. We'll see you and Dwayne. Bye. All right. So let's see. I got to figure out how to. There we go. So we should have you.
Kicked her off.
We should have you on here, Emmett. Now let me make an adjustment. Also, let me do one thing. I need to run a little spot right here. Be right back. Don't go away. 'Tis the season. The holidays are here. Surprise your favorite ham this season with the gift that is on their Santa list. The holidays are just around the corner, and Icom has an array of radios to fill your stockings or place under the tree. Just arrived for the holidays, the IDA 51A Plus 2 provides new models for extended D-Star coverage. Available in 5 colors, the IDA 51A Plus 2 is a perfect stocking stuffer. It has terminal and access mode, send and receive text messages and pictures, DV fast data mode, and an easy FM repeater setting. Ideal for the contester on the go. Try out the IC7300. It's a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design. The real fun starts here. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and an SD memory card slot. Push performance to the pinnacle with the IC7600. Following in the footsteps of Icom's flagship radio, the IC7600 has an intuitive operation and the latest DSP technologies. It has a digital IF filter, dual DSP, a large 5.8-inch ultra-wide TFT display, and high-resolution real-time spectrum scope. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on Icom radios. All right. Well, hey, welcome, Emmett.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad we got the problem fixed, and
There's Rochelle and Katie. Just wanted to share that real quick.
Yeah, I couldn't blame it on you tonight. I found out the problem was here. So anyway, Anyway, hey, we've been talking about antennas and a lot of things. I know you got some more information on that, but first, you want to talk about the USS Batfish and what went on down there?
Sure. Over the weekend, I got the opportunity once again to spend some time on the USS Batfish, which is a beta Balearic. I'm hearing myself. I'm getting a feedback.
Well, just don't listen to yourself.
I can't help it. But anyway, it's a Balearic class submarine. It's about 350 feet long. It fought World War II, and it was the deadliest submarine in the theater at the time. It sunk more Japanese submarines than any other sub in the American fleet. And it has come to rest at the USS Oklahoma Memorial in Oklahoma City in Mesquite, Oklahoma. And I'm going to pull up some pictures here real quick to show you. Just recently, however, they had a couple issues with the tornado come through, and it literally knocked over the tower that they used to have. I can't find that picture, darn it. I just had it here. Anyway, so what we ended up doing is we had the special event, which was for the Pearl Harbor Memorial to remember the men that served during the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the thing that pretty much got us involved in World War II, and the sinking of the USS Oklahoma, which at that memorial museum they have the there we go, the 30-foot tower. And
you don't drive down a street like that, do you?
Yeah. No. This is one of the guys. We thought it was kind of funny. We set it up on a tripod. We built up one of our new Sentinel hex beams for the boat, and we've also it also has the new 40-meter short element on it as well. And once we got it built up, we had to drive it down to the boat, and we thought it was kind of funny because we had the tripod in the back of the truck, and have a new mobile solution for the Sentinel hex beam. But they did a real good job setting it up. And my grandkids came down with us. We had to transport the antenna from the parking lot down to the submarine, and that was a fun walk. So quite literally, the antenna was mobile on the back of the pickup truck. That's my granddaughter right there, Julie. She's in the process of learning or basically training for her technician's license, but she's actually studying for both the technician and the general's license, and she says that's what she's going to do. Because, by the way, we do have another general in the family, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. So anyway, we got it set up out there, and there's the USS Batfish in the background. No, it's not connected to anything at the moment, but at that moment anyway.
Isn't there supposed to be some water there in that little gully right
it's
there?
Really neat. They've got this thing. They got this thing lit in such a way at night. The highway, which is over here, over on the side, it looks like the submarine is underway because the way this, the hills, it's not really hilly, but it's got these really slight inclines and stuff, so it actually looks like waves. So it looks like there's a submarine underway, cutting through the waves from the highway. It's one of those things that make you do a double take. And I thought that was pretty funny because it was like, oh, man. So anyway, we literally got the antenna set up, and we're currently using a temporary. That's not a tower. Let me see if I can move this thing over here. Let me zoom in. That's my granddaughter Julie again. Whoops, got to move it over here. There we go. Let's try that. There we are. Okay, what we've got is we've got the new tower that we finally got. It was thank you St. Charles EOC. They didn't donate it, but they definitely worked out a really good deal for the Batfish, so they could afford to bring it in. It's in the process of getting the base plate made up, and we're replacing all the not the pulleys, but the wires that basically raise the tower up, and then temporarily they're using this 40-foot but crank up tower, and there's the hex beam on top of it. What's nice though is they're leaving it there, and they literally will crank that thing down at night, and it goes down to about this level. It really worked out well for us. Here's a picture of the hex beam itself, where you've got it didn't have the 80 meter option, but you've got 6 meters, 10 meters, 12 meters, 15, and 17 in, like, let's say a small group, and then you have 20 meters. They all get fed with one feed, and then we have another feed that feeds our the 40 meter option, which is literally on top of the standard hex beam by about 6 inches to a foot, and it's fed separately. And what was really nice, they had let me pull this up real quick. Similar to what Icom did during field day, they had a combiner and 3 bandpass filters for the for 20 through 10. Actually, it was 20, 15, and 10. And then on 40 meters, they got a bandpass filter just for 40. So they're literally able to operate up to 4 radios from one antenna inside the submarine. And that really made for kind of a fun time, because there were times when we were inside operating. Can you see that? There we go. We were operating inside where we had the 7300 operating. We had someone sitting right next to this young man working digital, and then we had the guys in the radio room working CW. So we had, at one time, we had 3 radios going at the same time off the same antenna, which that made for a really fun time inside the boat. It was kind of neat having one antenna, be able to do all kinds of things at the same time. Let me back out of some of these pictures here. I got one more here for you. Where'd it go? Sorry. Had a good crew. Before, this is Paul. I forgot Paul's call sign. And then this is Wade. They all set up their specific antennas. Paul set up a simple delta loop, and Wade set up another loop that was more like an 80-meter loop that they strung through all the trees. And by the way, this flagpole right now is pretty much gone from the tornado. Let me turn this off here real quick and go back to stop sharing. But anyway, that was it was a good time. We had quite a few young basically young amateurs, and some of them were general class licenses, and some of them were just learning as we speak, for their technician's license. And oh, by the way, just for a really cool announcement, my youngest son, Colorado, last weekend tested and passed his generals, so he now has a general class license. And what was really kind of funny is once he passed the test, he says, I'm going ahead and starting to study for his extra. And that's absolutely, kind of makes my heart go pity-pat. I was very excited about that.
That's great.
So anyway, that's kind of get you all caught up on what's going on. And of course, Rochelle, just one more real quick thing. My wife, she is one of those kind of people that the one thing she does every year that I honestly, people will say, well, why don't you help out? Because it is more entertaining for me to watch her do this than anything else. It's like, why would I ever want to, mess with a master when she's working? And literally, this is can you see that? I can't tell.
Yeah, I'm seeing a bird and ornament.
Yeah, it's a cardinal, and that's my wife's working the Christmas tree. She does some of the most spectacular work, when it comes to working with the Christmas trees. And so it's like, I enjoy watching it. It's one of my hobbies next to working on the radios.
So let's see, there's a question in the chat room. Let's see if I can go split there. Yeah, pretty good. Lean to your right just a little bit. There you go. Okay, question in the chat room. How do you get the coax into the into the sub? You didn't drill a hole through or open a window, so what do you do?
Well, actually, on the submarine itself, let me see if I can find a picture. Over by the conning tower, there is a access panel inside the tower, and they literally ran the coax up underneath the boat through the skin. There's like an outer shell of the submarine, then you have an inner shell, and they ran the coax through the outer shell up to the conning tower where there's an access panel, and then they brought the coaxes down. So that's how they got the coax into the submarine.
You could have brought it into torpedo tubes. Maybe.
Well, the torpedo tubes are still functional, and they're on display. So it's what's really neat about that. Let me see if I can find that picture. I've got a really nice picture of the torpedo tubes. Got to find that in my Dropbox here.
So functional? You mean like, what is it? Compressed air and all that stuff? I mean.
No, the tanks are empty, but it could function again. But I wouldn't want to try that. It would be kind of silly and dangerous and deadly.
Could.
Well, there isn't any. How do I say this? There isn't any salt water, because remember, part of the launching process is they use compressed air and they use seawater, and then they literally push the torpedo out. I'm almost there, I think. The torpedo out the tube with air and whatchamacallit, and salt water and seawater. Do you hear a hiss? Is that what you're hearing?
No, Kathy was asking something about the picture up there, but it looks okay to me.
Okay, I'm trying to find that picture. Well, anyway, I won't get into that. But anyway, yeah, that's how you get the coax in there. And what's interesting though is it is kind of difficult to do anything on the sub, because everything in the sub has. Just imagine there's this tube, and they put all kinds of stuff in the tube, and then they made room for the people to move around in. So it's even a person like me has a lot of difficulty moving around in the submarine. Mm-hmm. And there are, of course, some hams that will never be able to go into that submarine because it is just small. And it's amazing to me to think that there was like 78. The crew, it was a crew of 78 personnel. Can you imagine that, Tom? Just 78 people in a little submarine.
Now that's at a museum, right? I mean, it is a museum, I think. Yes,
it is a museum. You can go see it anytime.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you can take tours through it.
Well, I read where you can spend the night there in the submarine.
Yes, you can. As a matter of fact, while we were there, we had a troop of Boy Scouts camping outside, and then one night they stayed in the sub itself. And that was an experience for them. It's fun watching people's eyes when they go through, and then all of a sudden they realize they were sleeping on a submarine. And one of the side effects of that sub is it still stinks. It still smells like batteries and paint and lead, not lead, but battery, paint, diesel, and all the stuff that went into making the submarine.
Well, that's there's been a number of special events there, I think, in this past year,
Yes. As a matter of fact, for instance, the Museum Ships Weekend, they operate, and then the Pearl Harbor is another one, and then they're going to be doing another one for Winter Field Day, and that will be, I don't know what date that is. If Paul, you're on, please text me not text me, you can text me, or if you're on the chat room, go ahead and put that date down there for me. I think Paul's on there. I can't remember what the Winter Field Day is, but they do other special events. They like to do a lot of, how do I say it? The radio club itself spends a lot of time working on the sub itself. It's like when we go to the sub, the kids, like Montana or Colorado and Julie and George are all working their radios, but we're all working on fixing stuff in the submarine. So it's, you kind of really get into working on things because you're trying to restore things back to normal. For instance, one of the projects I'm working on is there are some knobs that are missing on some equipment, and what we're going to do is they're getting me at least one knob. We're going to make a mold of it. Then we're going to cast, replacement knobs, so that way, things don't look like they're missing, major components.
Okay. Well, let's see. It's about 9 o'clock. You want to get into some antenna stuff?
Yeah, I'm on. Oh, I've been.
Oh, you got some more? You got more there with the Batfish?
Yeah, I was just saying again.
Do you have more for the Batfish?
Oh, I've got lots of work to do with the Batfish.
No, I mean for the to talk about tonight. I didn't want to.
Oh no, I think we're good. We wanted to get the scouts on the air, NE4RD. We even approached the scout leaders, and they weren't interested. I don't understand why, but they kindly declined our how do I say this, our invitation to get them on the air, and also to help them with their merit badge, and do something similar to like what we did in Las Colinas for Hamcom, where we literally processed something like 320 scouts through the station. They all made contacts on HF, and they all made contacts on VHF. And what was really cool is once you start doing stuff like that, especially, there we go. Winter Field Day is set for January 30th and 31st. Thank you. I'm surprised Katie didn't know that. Anyway, just joking. But it was really cool, and I was really hoping that we could have gotten the scouts on the air, because that makes the special event even more special, because now you got scouts and you got people lining up to talk to the scouts and the submarine, and there's a lot of enthusiasm, and I believe it's an excellent introduction to our hobby, which for me, I want to get more kids involved, and this is the only way I can think of that we can do that, and that's like get my children, my grandchildren, and all their friends involved. And I think there was something on the order of 10 kids, that were ham related, that most of them, except for maybe 2 or 3, all had their licenses, which to me, that was wonderful.
All right. Let's talk antennas. What do you got? You were going to talk about, I guess, several things. You mentioned things like resources and publications and stuff.
We can do that. Yeah. The one of the things that we've been talking about antennas. Yep, my 3 boys. Yep, that's right. That Jerry's on W5BFF. Really neat family. Those boys were fantastic during the show. During the special event. They knew how to work the radios. They were very helpful, especially when it came to doing things. And that's what I kind of like about the younger kids, is that they're not afraid to get in and get their hands dirty. And for instance, Julie spent a lot of time helping me and helping everyone put the hex beam together. And once the hex beam was up, they stuck with it. And then, of course, now they have that, that sense of pride to know that, whenever they go by the Batfish or even talk about it, or there's pictures, I helped put that antenna up, and that's really kind of a cool opportunity. So anyway, one of the things that
antenna doesn't stay there, does it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's good.
Permanent.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, we donated it to the Batfish, so that to replace the Mosley that got turned into a pretzel.
Okay.
If I can find that antenna, I'll show it to you. But it was not pretty when it was, when I found it. There we go, Storm. Nope, that's not it. Anyway, so one of the things that we've been talking about antennas, in the last couple of times that I've been on, and the one thing that one of the things that we run into every day when we talk to people on the phone, especially at radio waves, a lot of people are new. And a lot of people have no reference on how to get things up and running, and we try to help them as much as possible. But there are some really good tools out there that do not cost an arm and a leg, but I recommend strongly just have in your shack or available to you. As a matter of fact, I would say ever since, I can remember when, almost every year I buy a couple of these publications every year, because what I end up doing is I don't necessarily keep them throughout the years. I end up giving them away to someone else, like a new ham, to help get them started on things. We'd like to help as much as possible, help people, figure out how to do things, but it sometimes is nice to have a publication you can go to and say, okay, well, go look at this chapter and, you read some of this stuff, and then we can talk about, get into a little bit more detail about how you want to do things at your house. And this saves a lot of confusion, a lot of, how do I say this? It's a lot more productive, when we have interactions between each other by having this information. And then also by having that documentation available, you have a reference. You have, this is my source. In other words, it's not anecdotal. it is a publication. It is something that has been vetted. It's something that has been, presented, and you can use it as a basis for whatever you're trying to postulate. And one of the first books that I would recommend anybody who becomes a ham for the first time, even though they've done all that studying to get their general's license, their technician's license or general's license, I really believe you need to have this, because what it does is it helps fill in the blanks. Pulling it out right now. It helps to fill in the blanks. Whoa, look at that! I'm a blur. It helps to fill in the blanks. From what you missed during your classes, and then also it's a great reference for what is this, like what do the Q codes mean, what is what is Morse code in the first place. But one of the books I get now, this is one of my older ones, okay, and it's the ARRL, if I got that right, there we go, it's just opposite, it's the ARRL handbook. And in the handbook it has everything from, it's basically the ARRL handbook for radio communications, a comprehensive RF engineering reference, the biggest handbook ever. That's what I put that in there. That's not what it really says. And a really good friend of mine, Ward Silver, is the editor for this. And there are a lot of people. There's lots of articles in here. Can you see? There we go.
There you go.
There are lots of articles in here. Everything from, to give you an example, the biggest reason why I think people need to have this is this a good, how do I say it? Let's call it a standard. It helps us to define, how we need to be, how we can operate as ham radio operators. What kind of coax do I need to use? What antenna would probably be the best antenna to use? What kind of radio do I want? And also, what is, JT64? Okay. So, for instance, you got the introduction. What is ham radio? It has a really good introduction for ham radio. Fundamentals and theory. It gives you the nuts and bolts of ham radio. Now, it might be a little technical. As a matter of fact, it might even just like, all you're going to hear is like Charlie Brown during the Christmas special. Wah, 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 wah. That's all you hear and all you read. But what will happen is as you start doing and becoming active in the hobby, a lot of the stuff that you read here will come to light because you're going to have the practical experience. Practical design principles, antenna systems and radio propagation. That's a really good one. Equipment construction and maintenance, and then also station assembly and management. This is a good generic all-purpose guide. And what happens is, like I said, when I always like to buy the hardcover books, soft cover might be a little bit more, but I like the hardcovers because they seem to last a lot longer. And when you give it to someone as a gift, it means a lot more to them, because now it's not like you're handing them a paperback. You're handing them, something solid, which is really cool. The next book I like, and it's near and dear to my heart. As a matter of fact, everyone at our shop has one of these next to their desk, and it's ARRL Antenna Handbook for Radio Communications, Antennas, Transmission Lines, and Radio Wave Propagation. In this case, it's the 23rd edition, and in some cases, they also include a DVD, or not a DVD, but a CD-ROM, which is a PDF of the entire manual, plus there's some circuit designs and stuff like that in here that they give you the blueprints, so if you wanted to do your own PCB boards and so on. So you have like a little section in the back here. Now, Ward Silver is also the person who basically spends a lot of time on putting these things together, putting these articles together, all this technical information. And so what will happen is our guys will refer you to this book when people really start having how do I say this? Start having a lot of technical questions. They're not really sure. A lot of the information that they've been getting is anecdotal from other ham radio operators who, this is what happened. This is what worked for them. But the reality is maybe it's not going to work for you. And that's where we use something like this, because that way we take the ambiguous nature of the things that we're suggesting to people out, and we're saying, okay, here's a good book. And for me, the antenna book is a fantastic book for anybody to have. But the number one book still is the handbook. That's the number one book. The other books that are out there, let me go pull this pile. I'm still here. My library is rather large. It's got lots of books, leather-bound books. Oh, never mind. Anyway, there's lots of other different publications out there, and it's all radio related. You can get, by the way, the ARRL antenna book and the handbook. You can order it directly from HRO, Gigaparts, RNL Electronics, and so on. Or you can buy them directly from the ARRL. But my strong recommendation is to go ahead and at least order the handbook, because the handbook does have a good section on basic operations and so on. And in many cases, a lot of the stuff that we've talked about in the past about maintenance and so on, there's a whole chapter in there on maintenance, and we could refer you to where to go to find the information that you're looking for. Some other books from my good friends at W5YI is, let me try and pull these up. Another series of books, by the way, for getting into learning the different, ARRL has some really good books on, for your technicians, generals, and extra, and so does W5YI, Gordon West's books that are prolific throughout the industry or throughout our hobby. They've put a lot of work into these books. I know Ward is almost inundated with new material all the time that he has to go through and sift through and try and make sure that the information that he's getting is correct before he puts it into any other publication. But another neat little book, back in the days of Radio Shack, there was a thing called Basic Electronics by MIMS, and it has some really good, inexpensive. It has basic information on how electronics works. This is another good book that's good to have. Basic Communications Electronics. This is like a how-to book of how FM works, how AM works. It's a little bit more. It's not as technical, but it has some really good diagrams and suggestions on how to do things. We like to recommend these books for people who are just starting out. Then, of course, you got Digital Electronics. For the ham radio who has his extra class and feels like he's reached the peak of his abilities, I strongly recommend to increase your, your acumen in the industry or in the area that you're in, is go ahead and start to study for your GROL and your with your radar endorsement. And what this does is it gives you a license that you can use to help, especially like to work on certain types of radio transmitter systems and so on. You'll need one of these licenses in order to work on it. Gordon has done a fantastic job of putting this together. There's a CD-ROM in here that basically goes through the FCC test pool. You can contact him with questions, and he's very good at answering. That's basically the question pool. But you have the questions, and then he doesn't just give you the answer. He helps you, he helps to show you the process and procedure on how to do things. Now, the reason why for certain amateur radio operators that want to go and get a little bit farther along, this has some really good test procedures in there on how to test things out. Like, how do I know what my coax is really doing? Well, in my case, what I end up doing is I have everything running, and what I'll do is I'll put a dummy load on my coax before I start. I'll run what we call a vector network analyzer on it. It'll give me what's called a profile of my coax. I'll store that, and then let's say 6 months later I might be having a problem. Well, I'll do the same thing. I'll go put the dummy load on, and I'll run the analyzer, run a sweep on the cable, and I'll see if anything has changed. And if something has changed, then there's a good chance that my transmission system is messed up. But there are things that are anecdotal at times, but it's written here that you can do to make your experience outside a lot better. And remember, we're going into the winter months. Most people are not going to want to spend time outside working on their antennas. So it would have been a good idea if you had spent the time, before now, making sure all your connections are good, brought your antenna down. Remember, when you install some of these antennas, some of us are doing this in a hurry. Always put these things together with the mindset that you are going to have to take this thing down sometime in a very, how do I say it, not so convenient way. And so if you can figure out how you're going to put it up and take it back down, that'll be really good. And I know people have had their antennas up for 15, 20 years, but the reality is as a broadcast engineer, you need to check your stuff out on a regular basis. Every change of season, every storm. If you have a bad weather that blows through, then you need to check things out. Now, there's our good friends across the wire have a set of books, Practical Wire Antennas, and this is from our good friends from England, RSGB. They have some good, no-nonsense, very simple, not too thick type books. Lots of theory, lots of information that you can, basically use as a reference. Now, what am I doing with all these books? Same thing. They've got the Antenna Collection, which is RSGB's version of the antenna manual, the antenna book from ARRL. They have some really good examples on like loops, balins, U's. If Marty is here, U's. Anyway, like how to make a 3-element 2-meter Yagi, that kind of thing, complete with pictures. Very complete, very well written. Antenna Collections #2. You see, I've got stuff in here because what happens is people will ask questions. I can refer them to the book. I can refer them to other things. ARRL has a really good book for antennas for small spaces. You really need to just spend your time. Look at that. There you go. See, it's just neat little, pieces of information.